I was a student who struggled in school because I am blind. And I'm always proud to say I'm a Malayali.
ഇന്ത്യക്ക് പുറത്ത് ജനിച്ച് വളർന്നിട്ടുള്ള കുട്ടികൾക്ക് പൊതുവെ ഒരു ടാഗ് ലൈൻ എപ്പോഴും ഉണ്ടാവാറുണ്ട്. അമൂൽ ബേബീസ് എന്നെപ്പോഴും അവരെ വിളിക്കും. കാരണം എന്താന്ന് വെച്ച് കഴിഞ്ഞാൽ ഭയങ്കര തൊട്ടാവാടികളാണ്. പ്രോബബ്ലി നോട്ട് വെരി സ്ട്രീറ്റ് സ്മാർട്ട്, പ്രോബബ്ലി നോട്ട് ആസ് സ്മാർട്ട് ആസ് ദ കിഡ്സ് ഫ്രം ഇന്ത്യ. പക്ഷെ ഈ ടാഗ് ലൈനൊക്കെ കംപ്ലീറ്റ്ലി ബ്രേക്ക് ചെയ്ത് നെക്സ്റ്റ് ലെവൽ, ഇപ്പൊ നമ്മുടെ ഭാഷയിൽ പറയുകയാണെങ്കിൽ അതൊക്കെ മേലെ എത്തിയിരിക്കുന്ന ഒരു മലയാളിയാണ് ഞാൻ ഇന്ന് ഇൻട്രൊഡ്യൂസ് ചെയ്യാൻ പോകുന്നത്. നാഷണൽ ലെവൽ, ഇന്റർനാഷണൽ ലെവലിൽ സോ മെനി തിങ്സ് ഹി ഡിഡ്. ഒരുപാട് ഫിസിക്കൽ ചാലഞ്ചസ് ഉള്ള കുട്ടികൾക്ക് വേണ്ടി, യൂത്തിന് വേണ്ടി, അഡൾട്ട്സിന് വേണ്ടിയൊക്കെ ഒത്തിരി കാര്യങ്ങൾ ചെയ്തു. ആക്സസിബിലിറ്റിയുടെ കാര്യത്തിന് വേണ്ടി അദ്ദേഹം പ്രസിഡൻഷ്യൽ ലെവലിൽ അഡ്വൈസസ് കൊടുക്കുന്ന ഒരു വ്യക്തിയാണ്. പുള്ളിക്കാരൻ റീച്ച് ചെയ്ത ഹൈറ്റ്സ് എന്ന് വെച്ച് കഴിഞ്ഞാൽ നമ്മളൊന്നും ഒരിക്കലും പ്രതീക്ഷിക്കാതെ, പ്രോബബ്ലി സിനിമയില്, അതായത് ഭയങ്കര വലിയ ഹോളിവുഡ് മൂവീസിലൊക്കെ കാണുന്ന ഒരു തരം പൊസിഷൻ ഹോൾഡ് ചെയ്യുന്ന ഒരു വ്യക്തിനെയാണ് ഞാൻ ഇൻട്രൊഡ്യൂസ് ചെയ്യാൻ പോകുന്നത്. ഐ മൈസെൽഫ് അദ്ദേഹത്തിന്റെ ബയോ കംപ്ലീറ്റ്ലി വായിച്ചിട്ട്, എനിക്ക് വായിച്ച അന്ന് തൊട്ട് ഐ ബീൻ ട്രൈങ് ഓൾ മൈ ലക്ക് ടു ട്രൈ ആൻഡ് ഗെറ്റ് ഹിം ടു യു ഗൈസ്. നിങ്ങൾ എങ്ങനെങ്കിലും പരിചയപ്പെടുത്തി തരണം. ബിക്കോസ് എനിക്ക് ഇതില് കുറച്ച് ഒരു പ്രൈഡ് കൂടുതലാണ്. ബിക്കോസ് എന്നെ പോലെ തന്നെ UAE പഠിച്ചു വളർന്ന ഒരു സ്റ്റുഡന്റ് ആണ്. 17 years ആയപ്പം അദ്ദേഹം US-ലേക്ക് further studies-ന് വേണ്ടി യാത്ര ചെയ്തു. And from there he studied and studied and studied. And in 2012 December he was appointed by the ex-president of US, President Obama. അവിടുത്തെ US Access Board March 2015 he was appointed as the elected chairman of the US Access Board. അപ്പോ നമ്മുടെ ഒബാമ പ്രസിഡൻഷ്യൽ പീരിയഡില് കംപ്ലീറ്റ്ലി പ്രസിഡന്റ് ഒബാമയ്ക്ക് വേണ്ടി ഒരുപാട് കാര്യങ്ങൾ അഡ്വൈസ് ചെയ്ത് കൊടുക്കുന്ന ഒരു പെർട്ടിക്കുലർ ഒരു സെഗ്മെന്റ് ഉണ്ട്. സോ ആ ഒരു സെഗ്മെന്റ് എന്താണ് എന്നുള്ളത് അദ്ദേഹം തന്നെ ഇൻട്രൊഡ്യൂസ് ചെയ്യും. അദ്ദേഹം തന്നെ കംപ്ലീറ്റ്ലി നമുക്ക് വേണ്ടി അത് എക്സ്പ്ലെയിൻ ചെയ്ത് തരുന്നതായിരിക്കും. സോ ഇറ്റ്സ് മൈ അൾട്ടിമേറ്റ് ഓണർ ടു ഇൻട്രൊഡ്യൂസ് യു ടു സച്ചിൻ ദേവ് Pavithram. Welcome, Sachin.
Thank you for having me on.
സത്യം പറയട്ടെ സച്ചിൻ, ഐ മീൻ എനിക്ക് നമുക്കറിയാലോ ഒരുപാട് സ്ഥലത്ത് there are so many Malayalis who have reached at such heights, and അത് നമ്മുടെ തന്നെ ഒരു വലിയ, it's a big pride for me to introduce them to the rest of our community. And the minute I read about you, Sachin Dev Pavithram എന്ന് ഞാൻ ഗൂഗിളിൽ ടൈപ്പ് ചെയ്ത് വന്ന ഓരോ ആർട്ടിക്കിൾസും വന്ന ഓരോ കോണ്ടന്റ് എന്ന് വെച്ചാൽ അത് വായിച്ചു കഴിഞ്ഞപ്പോ അപ്പൊ ഞാൻ തീരുമാനിച്ചു, I have to interview you. I have to talk to you. I was so excited. Thank you so much for responding, and thank you so much for this time. First of all, Sachin, ഞാൻ നേരത്തെ പറഞ്ഞ പോലെ you were working Obama's presidential team ഒരു വ്യക്തിയാണ്. So അതിലേക്കൊക്കെ പോകുന്നതിന് മുന്നേ, can we get to know your beginnings and how did you start and where did you start?
Yeah, so from the root, I'm from India, from Kerala, from Kannur, and that's where I'm originally from. Because I always talk about I'm from Kerala to a lot of my just friends and colleagues and everyone over here. That's all my extended family still lives in Kerala.
Okay.
I grew up in Dubai. I did all my school in Dubai, kindergarten through 12th standard.
What school were you in?
So I did Gulf Indian High School till about 10th grade.
Okay.
And then I went to our own English high school to
oh my
11th
God.
and 12th. Yeah,
I studied at Indian high school,
Yeah.
സോ നമുക്ക് ഗൾഫ് ഇന്ത്യൻ സ്കൂളും എന്നൊക്കെ പറഞ്ഞു കഴിഞ്ഞാൽ നമ്മുടെ ബിഗ് റൈവൽസ് ആയിരുന്നു, അറിയാം.
Yeah, I know. I remember those days when there used to be Indian high school and Gulf Indian high school soccer
Absolutely.
Yeah, those were the days, and I still keep in touch with a lot of my friends from Gulf Indian high school.
Wow.
We have a little WhatsApp group going on.
Wow. That's
so
amazing.
yeah. So I grew up in Dubai, so I have a lot of associations still with Dubai, and it was a great journey. But one of the things, I grew up as a blind student, and there was not too much available for someone who's blind in Dubai at that time. And what what is to happen to someone like me in the future was always a question for my parents, and I also did not know, because I did not know any other blind people,
Mm,
growing up in Dubai. I somehow got through my
mm,
schooling because my mom, my mother, she read all my textbooks, and there was really nothing available for someone like me to really succeed in
yeah.
Dubai at
Mm,
that time. I know things have changed, but
mm,
it wasn't the case when I was going to school. So
mm.
fortunately, I had a mother who was very dedicated,
Wow.
and she just spent her pretty much all her time to
Yeah.
try to focus on how to educate me, because that's where my education took place, is in the house,
Mm,
where she was reading my textbooks because I wasn't getting much in school.
true.
My teachers were supportive. I'm not saying otherwise. I had good teachers too, who
Mm,
were supportive and who were understanding. And then there were teachers who didn't really get it.
okay.
Because it was different. They did not know how to deal with the blind student.
Yeah.
So that's kind of where my journey to the US started,
Mm-hmm.
where we started finding out there's options for disabled students like
Okay.
myself,
Mm-hmm.
opportunities to be successful and to be independent and to find a path to
Mm.
be successful.
Okay. So ദുബായിന്ന് you directly പോയത് Utah State University when you were 17 years old, അല്ലേ? And
Right.
then from there, your master's in vocational rehabilitation counseling. Adineshesham, a PhD in disability disciplines with an emphasis on disability policy. That
Yeah.
is quite a journey. Oh God. Tell me more, please.
Yeah, so obviously, like most people, at that age, in 17, I did not know what to do, and the standard Indian
Yeah.
culture, where you say you need to be an engineer, or something that is the normal thing that what most families
True.
talk about. My parents didn't really say you have to do this or that. It
Mm,
was, you know do something to be successful, and they were 100% uh, behind me to support me.
wow.
They didn't say this is what you should do, this is a path you should take. I had no idea. Now, I had an interest in computer science,
Okay.
um, so that's what I signed up for.
Mm-hmm.
But when I got to the US, my interest started changing. Even though I got a degree in my undergraduate degree in information systems and marketing,
Okay.
and I started working soon after I finished
Mm.
my undergraduate degree. But within the first year of working, I knew I hated computer science. It was fun to do, for fun, and just messing around. But it was not. That's not what I wanted to do for the rest of. I knew I wanted to be around people. I
Okay.
knew I wanted to interact with people.
Mm-hmm.
So the shift started at that point. Yeah, so that I think the journey got interesting because in my undergraduate years, I I functioned not letting people know that I was blind,
All right.
and also trying to deal with my blindness, because coming to a realization,
Mm,
because I was losing my vision over the
mm,
period of my teenage years, even though I was diagnosed when I was 6 years old that
mm-hmm.
I have a certain eye disorder.
Mm-hmm.
The real impact didn't happen till my early teenage years.
Okay.
And then in my college years, it was definitely going down. So I could fake it. I
Oh.
could fake it enough that people did not know,
Mm-hmm.
but I needed assistance, and universities over here are required by law to have, you know certain provisions, certain accommodations for students with disabilities. So I was being successful in school independently because of that. But on the other, on my social life, I was kind of hiding it, except for my close friends knew I couldn't see.
Mm-hmm.
But when I finished my college, started working, I started getting involved more and more. The more I hated computer science, the more I started looking outside to find things that that interest me. Then I started finding uh, the whole idea around advocacy.
Okay.
People becoming advocates.
Yeah.
The whole concept about civil rights, learning about civil rights. The
Mm-hmm.
U.S. is founded around different big civil rights movements.
Yeah.
So I found I've met people that belongs to an organization called National Federation of the Blind. It's
Oh.
which is a very grassroots advocacy organization,
Mm-hmm.
and just started getting involved in like uh, just advocating for blind people.
Wow.
But that changed my complete perspective of what I want to do, and computer science went down the tubes.
എവിടെ കമ്പ്യൂട്ടർ സയൻസ് എവിടെ ഇരിക്കുന്നു, വാട്ട് യു ആർ ഡൂയിങ് എവിടെ ഇരിക്കുന്നു, രണ്ട് രണ്ട് അറ്റത്താണ് റൈറ്റ് നൗ. നമ്മുടെ ഫോർ ദ വ്യൂവേഴ്സ് ഹു ആർ സീയിങ് ദിസ് ഇന്റർവ്യൂ ഏകദേശം ഒരു പിടി കിട്ടി കാണുമായിരിക്കും സച്ചിൻ എന്താണ് ആക്ച്വലി ചെയ്യുന്നത്. അതായത് ഡിസബിലിറ്റീസ് ഉള്ള വ്യക്തികളെ ഇമ്പാക്ട് ചെയ്യുന്ന തരത്തിലുള്ള ഓരോ പോളിസീസിന്റെ എന്താ പറയാ അതൊക്കെ അഡ്വൈസ് ചെയ്യുന്നതും ക്രിയേറ്റ് ചെയ്യുന്ന ആ ഒരു ടീമിന്റെ ഭാഗമാണ് സച്ചിൻ ദേവ്.
So I work with congressional offices, so the different senators and congressmen and congresswomen. So I work how to impact policies on in the whole spectrum of disability, whether it's employment, healthcare, education, tech policy, whatever it might be. So I work with all those rule makers. But I also work in the private sector, where I work with big leading tech giants like Google, Microsoft, Amazon,
Mm-hmm.
in working with their leadership on how to create a universally accessible platform. So, your Windows platform, how is it going to be accessibly designed for people like disabilities, someone like me to use.
Mm-hmm.
So it's the private sector and the public sector. So influencing policy, but also influencing private sector. The one thing I'm focused on a lot these days is working with the auto industry.
Mm-hmm.
There's a lot of conversation around autonomous vehicle.
Okay.
So I have a lot of conversations with folks in Tesla, Audi, General Motors, everyone working in that autonomous vehicle space. What does that mean for someone like me?
എനിക്ക് ഇത് കേൾക്കുമ്പോൾ ഒരു കാര്യമാണ് ഇപ്പൊ എന്റെ മനസ്സിൽ വന്നത്. അതാണ് നമ്മുടെ മലയാളി. എവിടെയും ഉണ്ട് നമ്മുടെ ഒരു മലയാളി. നമ്മളെ പ്രൗഡ് ആക്കുന്ന ഒരു മലയാളി ലോകത്തിൽ ഓരോരോ ഹൈറ്റ്സിലുണ്ട്. ഹീസ് എ ബിഗ് എക്സാമ്പിൾ ഓഫ് ദാറ്റ്. സച്ചിൻ, if I have to ask, so basically like any of us, you have a normal job as well, to advise and all of it. So if I may ask, in one day in the life of Sachin Dev Pavithram, how would it go?
Lots of meetings. With the kind of work I do, it's hard to describe what I do to most people, because it's a gamut of so many things. In the morning I'll wake up, and right when I wake up in the morning, I have like probably 10-15 messages. I don't know how many emails. I don't even know.
Are they double digit or triple digit?
It's usually in the triple digits.
Oh God, no way.
It's to kind of weed out all this information. Now, I'm not saying I go through all those emails. Some are pushed.
But you read through mine.
Yeah, so you have to kind of prioritize. What is immediate and what needs to be taken care of. But my day job, my main employer is Utah State University. I'm the director of policy at Utah State University, and that's where I do a lot of the policy research and policy influencing. But then I have many other roles where I'm a president of a very large national organization called Association of University Centers on Disability, where we are an association of 133 universities where we do a lot of research. Then I'm also a member of the U.S. Access Board, where we influence standards, and then so it's a gamut of a lot of different things. So it's hard to really pinpoint exactly where my focus is going to be that day. But I can tell you one thing that happens every day. I have back-to-back meetings.
If I may ask, what about your family, your kids, your wife? How do you spend time with them in between all of these meetings? ഇതിനൊക്കെ ഇടയില്, how do you find time to do, spend some family time together?
Especially this last 3 months with COVID-19, there's no traveling. So,
Okay.
I'm home with the kids. My wife, she's a nurse.
Okay.
So she obviously she has to go in, being in the healthcare space. But myself, I work at home right now. So, I'm full in charge right now with the kids, making sure in between my meetings, they're doing what they need to do. I got two daughters,
Wow.
11 and 6, Maya and Aisha, and they both, responsible kids, and it's easy for me.
You're blessed. You're blessed.
Yeah.
Good to hear.
Yeah, no, they're really good kids, and they do their thing. They let me do my thing. Well, we spend a lot of times together. My kids love to play games, and we watch movies together. We have a lot of family time. It is hard because of my job. I do have to travel a lot, especially to Washington D.C. Because I spend a lot of time in the Capitol, working with different lawmakers, negotiating on different big legislations coming on. So it takes me away from the family. But it's sometimes I wonder they're probably happy when I'm gone.
No, but I think now COVID is a time that you can probably sacrifice the time and എല്ലാം തിരിച്ചു കിട്ടിയ ഒരു time ആയിട്ട് consider ചെയ്യാം. Yeah, that's brilliant. And if I should ask you, ഇപ്പം your career ഇപ്പൊ ഒരുപാട് job roles and responsibilities ഉള്ള ഒരു വ്യക്തിയാണ് Sachin Dev. So if I have to ask you, I'm pretty sure you face so many challenging times ഒക്കെ face ചെയ്തിട്ടുള്ള ഒരു പേഴ്സണും കൂടിയാണ്. ബട്ട് ഈ കഴിഞ്ഞ കുറച്ച് നാളില് ഓർത്തിരിക്കാൻ പറ്റുന്ന ഏറ്റവും ചാലഞ്ചിങ് ആയിട്ടുള്ള ഒരു സിറ്റുവേഷൻ ചോദിക്കുകയാണെങ്കിൽ എന്താണ്?
I'll throw a couple of things out there. As a blind person, it's one of the hardest thing is convincing society around you that in spite of your blindness, you are someone who can contribute to the community. You can be independent, and you can do things that people doesn't believe someone like me can do. That's always a ongoing challenge, because the approach that most people take is the approach of being pity, or the charity model is what I call it sometimes. Let's put it's amazing he did this because he's blind. So the focus is so much that because he's blind, he's doing all this. It's not focusing on he's doing this because he has the skills to do it.
Exactly.
Does that make sense? So too much focus on the blindness side of it, not focusing on what skills he's built up. So that's always a challenge. The blindness, what I tell people is blindness is just one characteristic of mine. Just like every other. I'm a father. I'm my husband. I'm from India. All those are one different characteristic, and just like that, blindness is just one characteristic. So minimizing that. So that's one ongoing challenge. The other thing was an interesting challenge. So stepping back to 2012, when I got appointed by President Obama, it's not something that happens usually. It's not something that happens easily, and that happened because of the name recognition I started getting nationally with the work I was doing. And when I got my phone call, it was sometime in April, like late April. I can't remember the exact date. I got a call, and I ignored it. It came as unblocked. No, it came as a blocked number. And I ignored it.
No way. Oh God.
Because I thought it was telemarketers, and I just ignored it. And then I heard the voicemail, and it sounds like a friend of mine. And I was like, I'm not going to respond to this, because I knew I was very sure I knew who it was calling, because it was a friend of mine who always likes to pull pranks. And I was saying, I'm calling from the White House, blah blah blah.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm not buying into that. The next day, I get an email saying we've been trying to reach you, and the email address had whitehouse.gov. I'm like,
oh no, oh God. Apparam, did you think Adam matte vella fishing email
No, no, no,
too much
no.
of scams
I knew
happen?
at that point.
Oh.
Yeah, I knew at that point this was legit. So I responded, and when I called his name is Gary. I called him and said, like, "Hey, I'm sorry. I thought you were telemarketer." so, so that was, he started laughing when I said that. So, he said your name came highly recommended for a position, and if you're interested, we would like to. The president would like to put your name forward for vetting. Vetting is what they do to do your background check.
Okay.
So it's a first step to do security clearance and all that kind of stuff. So that went on for a few months because it was, and again, 2012 was the big election, and everything was happening. So I didn't hear anything, and I can't mention it to anyone that I was going to. It was supposed to be completely confidential.
Oh, okay.
So nobody knew. So I, except my family. I had to keep it completely silent, and they were doing all the FBI was doing checks and all those different things. Then in November, right after the election, I got a call saying the president is ready to appoint you.
Oh my
God. And then I got appointed in December 2012. January, I went in to get sworn in. I got sworn in, but the president sworn me in, and Secretary Clinton, she signed my papers.
This is like a scene right out of a Hollywood movie, right out of a Hollywood movie. I can only visualize, oh God, out of the call, and then you're heading out to get sworn in, and all that cinematic style. ഇതൊക്കെ എൻ്റെ മനസ്സിൽ ഇപ്പൊ വരികയാണ്.
You take the oath, to protect and defend, and all those things. Yeah, and then the president signs the document, and the Secretary of State, who was Hillary Clinton, then she signed the document, and then it's official. And a few months into it, I'm still trying to figure out what I was doing. You don't walk into this knowing exactly what you're going to do.
Exactly.
Because you figure it out. Washington D.C. is a place of a lot of power, a lot of influencers, and a lot of big egos.
Okay.
So someone like me coming in at that age in my life, I was fairly young at that point. And a lot of people in power are in their 50s or 60s. And when I come in with a political appointment, a presidential appointee, they don't want to listen to me. Someone who's half their age.
I can only imagine. It'll be difficult. അവർക്ക് digest ചെയ്യാനായിട്ട് ഭയങ്കര difficult ആയിരിക്കും.
Yeah, so without naming names, so I got pulled in. So there's some immediate things that I had to deal with when I got there, and I was still trying to get a grasp of it. So some senior legal people, about 4 of them, called me into a room because they did not know like the approach I was taking. Okay. I was doing under the directive of the president, and they didn't like it's politics at this point, and. So I walk in, and they said, the first thing the person goes, he said, I know you're ambitious. I know you want to make a big difference, but we've been doing this for a long time.
No way.
We know what's best for this country. So he just went off, and then I was just sitting there, and he just the more I kept quiet, the more angry he got.
Oh my God.
So he just kept going off and off and off, and after he said that, then there was like this dead silence for a minute, and I said, are you done barking? And he said, what do you mean? I said, well, you just barked for 20 minutes and you gave me no substance. So if that's the end, this meeting is done.
Oh my God.
And I walked out. I was nervous.
Okay.
So I went straight to my general counsel. I said, okay, this is what I did. I don't know whether I screwed this up, but this is what I did. They said, you know what? You're going to make the president proud. And the news got to the president.
Wow.
And next thing I know, I became the advisor to the president on disability policy. So it changed my role immediately. Just that one action.
That one instance.
Yeah, because it was very important for the administration, and I stood up, and I didn't let them intimidate me. I did not know what I was doing or what was happening, but it was my instincts I played out, and it worked out. And sometimes I learned a big lesson that day. There's always going to be people who's going to try to bring you down.
Yes, absolutely.
It's and it's your job to, it's your own responsibility what you're going to do about it. You can feel sorry about it and do nothing about it, or you can stand up for yourself and do what you think is right. Do your part to defend yourself and others who are vulnerable.
Absolutely. That's very applicable to any field you're working in or whatever situation you are in. There's so many children out here. There's so many opportunities, but some of the kids are so confused with what kind of career choices to take. Even the position that you are holding right now, ആരും സ്വപ്നത്തിൽ പോലും കാണാത്ത positions ആണ്. So either a doctor, അല്ലെങ്കിൽ ഒരു engineer, അല്ലെങ്കിൽ ഒരു accountant. So I'm so inspired by your story myself. So I thought, why not let everybody know about it, especially the youth here in UAE. So that actually goes to my next question. കാണുന്ന എല്ലാ യങ്സ്റ്റേഴ്സിനോടും ഇപ്പം ചിലപ്പം ഡിസബിലിറ്റീസ് ഉള്ളവരാകാം, അല്ലാത്തവരാകാം, so many, പ്രത്യേകിച്ച് ഈ ഒരു ജനറേഷന് a lot of obstacles face ചെയ്ത് കഴിഞ്ഞാൽ പെട്ടെന്ന് തളരുന്ന ടൈപ്പാണ്. Like not like our previous generations who used to break all barriers no matter what in the world it would take for them. They would just go ahead and do what it is. But this generation, what I feel, including myself, ഒരു ചെറിയ obstacle വന്നു കഴിഞ്ഞാൽ പെട്ടെന്ന് we kind of tend to break down and we get so discouraged and all of it. So എന്നെ മനസ്സ് വെച്ചുകൊണ്ട് എന്നെ പോലത്തുള്ള ബാക്കി youngsters-നോട്, what would be the message you would like to share, Sachin? With all the experience that you have, with all the situations that you have faced, I mean, you are dealing with big people, you're dealing with big situations. So for somebody who wants to become like you, what would you say?
I think the first thing I would say is to believe in yourself. I think it's important to really believe who you are as an individual and not let people tell you who you should be. It should be a process, a journey that you go through where you find it on your own, not because someone told you this is what you should do. If someone is directing you to do you can take advices from people, you can get people's opinion, but the final decision of what path you take and what you do, as always, it needs to be because you believe in it. Now the Indian culture, there's always this big parent influence. Sure. Which is a good thing, but it becomes a bad thing when the parents are the only one telling you what to do and it's not your own decision. There needs to be a balance between parents advising and guiding and someone, who the child taking ownership of that. You're going to have times where you are going to struggle. Like there are times I'm discouraged, even today there are times, I'm like, it's not like I'm always positive and running around, yeah, I can do this. No, there are times that I'm like, what am I doing? Give me a break. So it's right? Natural, and there's no end to that. That's going to come and go. It's what you do about that is important, how you handle that. It's okay to have some time to feel sorry for yourself, but don't let that be the end of that. Take your time to feel sorry for yourself and then
get done with it.
Be done with it and go. You have to move past that. You have to figure out how you're going to do that. Now, with everything going on right now in the world, especially with the current pandemic with COVID-19, those who are graduating from college right now, there's a lot of uncertainty on what's future is looking like. The reality is you can control only what you can control. You can't control the pandemic, but you can control what you do about yourself and how you handle yourself. So do what you have control over. Don't try to put the blame on everything else and say, till that fixes, I can't do anything. Well, yeah, there's some truth to that, but there's still things you can keep doing. So, believing in yourself is probably the most fundamental thing that I would say that anyone, not just someone who's young, anyone should do, because if you don't believe in yourself, you're always going to be pulled down.
That's right. Oh, that was so good. Thank you so much, Sachin. A big thank you for ഇത്രയും സമയം നമുക്ക് വേണ്ടി മാറ്റി വെച്ചതിൽ a big thank you. And we're so proud of you again and again. I want to say this. We're so proud of you, Sachin. I mean, ഇത് കാണുന്ന there might be so many of the kids who would now say that, hey, I want to become like Sachin. I want to do that. I want to be where he is. So thank you for being such a role model. Thank you for being such an inspiration.
Well, thank you. Thanks. Once again, thanks for including me in your show.
You're most welcome. I'm so honored. Thank you so much, Sachin.
Hit 96.7 FM.